Before I talk about the opportunities and challenges in the Converged TV landscape, it's important to understand what is Converged TV. And at Mediaocean, we're talking about premium video, TV-like content that's long form, full screen, high production quality, regardless of any device or platform it is served on, as well as the buying mechanism. And then speaking to opportunities, in theory, the promise of Converged TV is bringing the best of broadcast television, addressable linear and connected TV together. This means buyers will have interoperability with their audiences. They will have access to scaled supply, and they can make outcomes-based decisions throughout the course of the campaign. Unfortunately, the reality is that it's a very, very complex environment today. The challenges that media buyers face is that existing processes and technologies are all fragmented. So for example, there are silos in buyer workflows, buying teams, budgets, and measurement. On the flip side, there are silos in media supply. And I think it will be magnified even more depending on how Netflix decides to play with their new ad-supported tier. And then finally, poor identity resolution makes it that much harder for the buyer or the marketer to target for reach and relevance. And granted, some of these problems will eventually get solved as currency players adapt to cross-channel, supply opens up. But all of this needs to be brought together for buyers in a way that brings them operational efficiency and actionable intelligence while they are logged into the applications they use to make critical decisions in their day-to-day. And this is where Mediaocean has a very strong role to play. And we're focusing on two very key things to solve for some of these problems. Number one, as buying teams converge, we're also unifying our workflows that will enable these teams to create converged campaigns while adhering to existing business practices. And then number two, we're building a converged TV stack that focuses on automation, interoperability, and intelligence. What does that really mean? At the very high level, I'll give you, it's got 5 layers. So data is number one. So think of multiple currencies, auction logs as the foundation. Number two, identity resolution, bringing and enabling agencies to have interoperability to with their audiences so they can plan and buy accordingly. Supply automation, so working with partners like Beachfront to automate the pipes and bring in the supply that's required to transact programmatically. And then finally, layering services for like goals-based optimization, audience-based buy enablement, unified measurement, etc., all within the applications that the buyers are logged into. That's how we see the landscape unfolding around opportunities for media buyers.
That's really interesting. Now, looking at traditional linear TV, and it's got a lot of legacy systems and the way it likes to operate, and then you have CTV and video. What can each of these ecosystems learn from each other in terms of the way media is transacted and advertising is delivered?
Yeah, I could give you a very simple answer, right? The simple answer is to take the best of each ecosystem, blend that in your transaction and delivery in the way to move forward. For example, indulge me. TV provides brand safety and a good viewer experience with competitive separation. CTV must adopt some of that with stronger fraud and verification solutions. On the other hand, CTV and digital broadly provide precision targeting, the speed at which you can make changes mid-flight, which I think some of these advanced measurement players with ACR data can help facilitate for broadcast television. Frequency capping is an issue for both mediums that they must tackle. And then ultimately the same thing for better identity resolution, and bringing transparency in the overall process is key for both mediums. Now, this is obviously easier said than done, because to implement this, it requires changes in the entrenched buying processes that exist today, it requires fundamental changes to the technology and infrastructure that exists that allow fluidity, flexibility, automation, and intelligence in the entire buying cycle end to end. And all of this can only happen if major players in this ecosystem work together to protect against big tech taking control, because that's who you are really competing against. And look, the end result may likely be a collection of walled gardens, but platforms like Mediaocean can play a role even in that as a connector to build bridges to enable intelligence in the workflow in an independent and a neutral way.
Now, we've talked about how CTV or Converged TV looks from the advertiser perspective. I wanted to flip the script here and ask you a bit about the viewer experience. Like, what role does the viewer experience play in Converged TV advertising, and how big an issue things like ad fatigue or creative wear out are, and how advertisers could best manage those things?
Look, viewer experience is the ultimate rationale for this, quote, hybrid form, unquote, of advertising to succeed. Things like frequency capping, competitive separation, and even storytelling with creators are going to be table stakes in this environment. So as Converged TV measurement matures, I think advertisers will get a better handle on frequency management and will have the ability to control exposure more precisely. And at Mediaocean, our acquisition of Flash Talking, we can help with creative optimization and personalization in CTV. And we also have solutions for ad verification, fraud protection, and brand safety through the acquisition of Protected Media, which Flash Talking did last year.
And finally, Akhil, I wanted to ask you a bit about what you see in the future. Do you have any bold predictions, or perhaps anything you'd like to see happen? Anything that's on your wish list? Like, what does the future of CT advertising hold?
Look, as somebody who lives and breathes convergence on a day-to-day basis, I talk to suppliers, we talk to tech vendors, we talk to buyers on a day-to-day basis. From a viewer perspective, the boundaries between broadcast television and CTV will continue to blur until there is really no distinction anymore. And connected TV provides the best of sight, sound, and motion to its viewers with the potential of precision, speed, and transparency to advertisers. So like digital, if CTV is primarily transacted programmatically, I think it creates a win-win situation for everybody in the long run. But don't rule out linear TV. Linear TV is not going away anytime soon, and too many providers are focused on solutions that are only focused on a single channel or a single medium like connected TV. That is why taking a converged approach is the right one, where you can blend strategies and workflows across the converged landscape. And for my bold prediction, let's see, I'd say broadcast television or linear television will still be about a $60 billion business in the US for the next decade in terms of its annual ad spend.